Very warm welcome to you, everyone. This is Politics Tonight. Thank you for joining us on the program. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar resigns from the People's Democratic Party. Insists party has strayed from the ideals on which it was founded. Tonight, APC begins search for Gandaje's successor as battle intensifies, and I will be speaking with former member, Chief Whip and spokesman, Nasarawa State House of Assembly, Honorable Makpa Malla. Welcome to the program, everyone. Please stay with us. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, let's begin with some developments in the polity. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has officially resigned from the People's Democratic Party. His resignation was communicated in a letter dated 14th of July and addressed to the party chairman of his ward in Jada local government area of Adamawa State. The presidential candidate of the PDP in the 2023 general election tendered his resignation in a build-up to the 2027 general election after admitting to the formation of a coalition party, the African Democratic Congress. Atiku Abubakar insists the party has strayed from the ideals on which it was founded. He attributed his resignation to the irreconcilable differences that have emerged and the current trajectory of the party. Away from that, Governor Abubakar has signed into law the bill establishing the University of Tropical Agriculture, Technology and Climate Action in Sadoma local government area of Taraba State. Speaking during the signing ceremony, Governor Kefas emphasized that the establishment of the university is not politically motivated, but aimed at stimulating development and transformation in the area and the state at large. Meanwhile, the Speaker of the Taraba State House of Assembly said the lawmaker's decision aligns with the governor's transformation agenda. He also expressed confidence that the university will position the state as a leader in agricultural research, contributing significantly to national food security.
This also is an additional goal for us in our drive for climate change action. And I'm sure with this, we're going to attract a lot of support to make sure that we establish it. So I will urge the Commissioner for tertiary education to make sure I work with them, the local government, the stakeholder, to get a temporary site together for few administrative processes should commence, and then as we get down to Gembu, we'll look for the best place that we can site the permanent site, and then we'll now think of how we can put it in the budget, and also to create a forum where we'll get some intervention, even critical stakeholders, so that the school will take off in good time. And this will not only stop there, it will open up a bilateral relationship in the area of trade and other things with Cameroon. Yeah. And instead of using our border for illegal activities, let's use it for something that will be beneficial.
Your Excellency, you may recall that sometimes around 3rd June this year, a bill was proposed and sponsored by, in consultation with you, the bill was sponsored by the 3 members of Sadona local government, specifically Right Honorable Abel Dia, Honorable Titon, and Honorable Nelson, in respect of the Taraba State University of Tropical Agriculture, Science and Technology, and Climate Action Gembu Mambila Plateau, Law number 7 of 2025 to the House. And after carefully going through the bill, we realized that it was in line with our 5-finger trust, particularly your concern about educating the teeming populace of our dear state.
Let's take a short break, and when we return, we'll get straight into our conversation for tonight. Please stay with us.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Honey, what time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national minimum wage.
We are TV Station of the Year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Welcome back, everyone. As the All Progressives Congress prepares for its crucial National Executive Committee meeting scheduled for July 24, tensions and ambitions within the party are rising. At the center of the unfolding drama is a growing clamor from the Northwest to retain the national chairmanship seat, but with calls from zoning justice coming from the North Central and internal rumblings across party ranks. All eyes are on what direction the APC leadership will take. Tonight we dig into the power play, regional calculations, and what truly is at stake for Nigeria's ruling party. Joining me for this conversation is Honorable Makpa Malla, former member, chief whip, and spokesperson of the Nasarawa State House of Assembly. He's a lawyer by training, a politician, and a human capital development consultant. Thank you very much for joining us, Honorable. Good evening to you, and welcome to Politics Tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Right. So, I mean, it's just been 24 hours since former president was laid to rest, and I want us to start with that. How would you describe his legacy, personally, whether from how you perceived him or your personal experience, if any, of the former president? How would you describe his legacy from the perspective of northern Nigeria?
Okay, first of all, I want to commiserate with our dear President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the APC family, the immediate family and the extended family of our demised president. I extend my condolences, my heartfelt condolences. Now, the passing of His Excellency Major General Muhammadu Buhari retired is a huge loss not just to Nigeria in general, but I believe to the APC in particular, because political activities had started quite early towards 2027. This is 2 years into the 2027 elections, but the activities that are going on in the polity looks as if we're facing elections in the next 6 months or 1 year. We would have needed the institutional memory, the leadership, the clout of His Excellency, the late president. But who are we to question Providence? He came through Providence, and Providence decided to take him away. His demise is a huge loss to the party, and we will just have to find a way to navigate into the future as a political party and as a country.
And there was a strong emotional bond between him and ordinary people in the North. I mean, we saw that play out with his constant and undeniable 12 million votes every time he contested. I mean, even in death, yesterday we witnessed a huge crowd. He came out to welcome the body of the illustrious son. What do you think fueled that connection?
Okay, President Muhammadu Buhari, late, has always connected with the man on the street. Perhaps because of his lifestyle, perhaps because of his calm, humble nature. When we go through the history and the trajectory of this very, very great man, right from his days in the military, those who served with him in the military would tell you that as an individual, he was a very, very quiet person, yet very firm and very principled. When it comes to his lifestyle, history tells us that he was Spartan. He was never driven by materialism. He was always reflective of what simplicity, of life and living was. And I guess these were attributes that resonated with the downtrodden, as you would want to call them, the common Nigerian, the common man on the streets of northern Nigeria, the 19 states of northern Nigeria, and even beyond the 19 states of northern Nigeria, I believe all over the country. So he lived a very disciplined life. He lived a very simple life. He lived a life that resonated with the common man on the street. And I guess that is what we saw that informed, you know, the mass turnout at his funeral yesterday, and
then.
you know, the events that followed thereafter.
All right. It's a 7-day mourning period for the nation, and we pray that his soul rests in perfect peace. But let's talk about other matters, Honorable. The North Central has been vocal about, you know, producing the next APC national chairman. Now there's a growing agitation for the APC national chairmanship to be zoned to the North Central. Where do you personally stand on this demand? Do you believe the North Central has been fairly represented in that power-sharing structure of the APC since 2015?
Okay, first of all, I would like to take our minds back to 2022, because some of us participated actively in the activities leading up to the convention of 2022 that produced a consensus national chairman in the person of His Excellency Senator Abdullahi Adamu. Now, during that convention, there was this allocation, or if you would, sharing of national working committee positions across the 6 geopolitical zones that make up the country. I'm talking about within the fold of the APC, and particularly the highest office in the party, that is the office of national chairman of the party, was singularly zoned to the North Central, and it presupposes that the North Central was supposed to hold sway between 2022 and 2026, because it is a 4-year term in the first instance, and of course subject to renewal if the person flies again at the next convention or whatever would have ensued in between, as you know, the decision was taken by the neck of the party, because the neck of the party has the constitutional power to do what the convention will do in between conventions, to be ratified by the convention at the next convention. So ordinarily you would expect that in 2023, when His Excellency Abdullahi Adamu resigned, you know, the zoning of the national chairmanship of the party would have been respected and maintained, and the position would have been given to someone from the North Central.
Right.
But it was
Honorable, are you aware of any internal discussion within the APC leadership regarding the zoning demand? And I'm asking because, you know, the names are here, and I wonder what makes the North Central well positioned to produce the next chairman of the APC. And apart from the zoning issues, which, you know, politicians remember only when it's time to talk about fairness and equity, I mean, for the names, we have Senator Tanko Al-Makura from your state, Nasarawa State. Senator Joshua Jare is there, Yaya Bello, Senator Solomon Egua, Senator Sani Musa George Akume. They're not officially declared, but, you know, his supporters have asked him to step up regarding this position. Are you aware of any internal discussions within the APC leadership regarding this demand? Has the North Central Caucus made a final push?
Okay, there has been agitations in the political fold of APC over the last 1 or 2 years since the emergence of Ganduje. Several pressure groups within the party, registered pressure groups within the party that are of North Central extraction.
Yes, but as the North Central made a formal push, Honorable, has there been a formal push from the zone?
Yes. Well, if you look at the contenders, if you would, or those who are anticipating to replace Ganduje, you will find that there is actually, to the best of my knowledge, there is actually no person from the other geopolitical zones of the north, the northeast and the northwest, that is anticipating to replace Ganduje. all the contenders, for example, all the names that you reeled out, Joshua Dare, Sani Musa, Solomon Iwuga, and all these are names from the North Central. So there is the presupposition that the North Central is actually supposed to be the replacement for Ganduje. And it is actually constitutional in the light of the party's constitution. Because the party's constitution makes it very clear in Article 31, sub 5, that in the event that there's a vacancy in a national or zonal office at the national level, the replacement should, the import of that provision is that the replacement should clearly come from the state, from where the vacancy occurred. And in this case, it should have been Nasarawa State, not even the North Central as a whole. But
and for
whatever
critics who have said,
happened, so we must chart a course for the future.
And for critics who have said the APC leadership has been dominated by the South and the Northwest. Well, I mean, the question still remains, should zoning be enforced to ensure fairness, especially for the North Central? Do you think the presidency and the national leadership of the APC are open to this conversation, or is it being tactically ignored?
If you look at, the structure of the party, if you take the trajectory of national chairmanship of the party, apart from Abdullahi Adamu, there is no record of anyone from the North Central in the trajectory of the leadership of the party. But I really do not want us to belabor this issue of zoning, as important as it is to ensure fairness, to ensure justice, if you would, to ensure even representation. I think the party has come to a point in its life that whoever becomes the next national chairman of the party must be someone who is potent, who is strong, who has what I would call the institutional memory of the dynamics, the history and the workings of the party, someone who is a unifier and a bridge builder. The reason why I'm raising some of these issues is because before now, we had two major opposition parties, you would say, the PDP and the Labour Party, judging from the strides, the little strides they made in the 2023 elections. But looking at the fate of these two parties, the PDP, for example, I would say is in what I call a political ICU, intensive care unit. And I'm not sure that even if it survives that political ICU, it will come out strong. Perhaps it will just come out fledgling into the 2027 elections, because the persons who give life to PDP had all exited. And the Labour Party, was built around a personality. And today, indications are clear that he's not going to fly the flag of that party.
And I'm
because
also here wondering
left.
if the APC decides or refuses to zone this chairmanship to the North Central, do you think the region will respond with resistance or defection? Well, quickly, let's move away from that. The forthcoming APC NEC meeting is slated for July 24, about 6 days away from now. And there are reports that some disgruntled APC members are aligning with the ADC movement. Is this something the party is concerned about?
The party should be concerned about that, because from the last points I made, it's leading to this question, as if I anticipated your question. The major political opposition today facing the APC is the ADC, because the tendencies that form the ADC, you will see, came from the PDP that collapsed, I would say, the PDP, and the Labour Party, besides the other small interests and tendencies that have come together and form the ADC. Much as we would say that these elements are strange bedfellows, these are people that had never agreed in the past, and today they are coalescing to constitute an opposition to the APC. But I do not think that they should be taken for granted. And this leads us to what we should expect from the NEC meeting of the 24th of this month that would ultimately produce the next chairman of the party. The party has to be very, very careful in the choice of who becomes the national chairman, because the national chairman is going to be the rallying point that will chart the course for the party's future going into the 2027 election. And then there are so many considerations, parameters and factors that should be looked for in who will lead the party into the future. And I guess we should be talking about that
And there's a tendency that if the chairmanship position is not zoned to the North Central, these actors are ready to move to the APC, and that's what you've just insinuated. But as a politician from Nasarawa State, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, for instance, that's the former APC national chairman, had called for the governorship of the state to be zoned to the Nasarawa West Senatorial District. What is your view on the issue of zoning the governorship of the state amongst the 3 senatorial zones of the state? Do you believe Nasarawa West has been marginalized in terms of occupying the seats?
Okay, I didn't expect that this was going to come up. Maybe because I'm from Nasarawa State and you felt that I should talk a little about the politics of Nasarawa State. Okay, His Excellency, the statesman, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, called a stakeholders meeting in zone, Nasarawa West. You know that Nasarawa has 3 senatorial districts like every other state of the country. Nasarawa South, Nasarawa North, where I come from, and Nasarawa West. So he called for a stakeholders meeting where he argued that from the onset, from the creation of Nasarawa State, especially from its entry into democracy in 1999, because when it was created, of course, it was under the military. The first 2 administrators were military administrators. But in 1999, he argued that there was a zoning arrangement between the stakeholders of the state, where it was agreed that the governorship of the state should go round the 3 senatorial districts of the state. Clearly, nothing like that existed, and I can give my reasons very briefly, so that I can just touch on this before we go back to the main reason why we're here. In 1999, virtually all the zones of the state contested for the governorship of Nasarawa State. Now, if there was zoning at that point, I believe you me, the zone that was agreed to produce the governor would have been the only zone that would have contestants. But all the 3 senatorial districts contested for the governorship of Nasarawa State. And same thing happened in 2003. Same thing happened in 2007. But what is even most striking is that between 1999 and 2007, when Abdullahi Adamu held sway as governor from the western zone, the governorship moved to the southern zone. The late Aliyu Akwedoma, 4 years, and then His Excellency Tanko Al-Makura, the person we are hoping and angling for to become the next national chairman of the APC, held sway for 8 years. So the southern zone held sway until 1919.
Because, to add to everything you've just said, some political actors in the state...
His Excellency Tanko Al-Makura.
Okay, okay. That's some
His Excellency Tanko Al-Makura.
Thank you. So
he held sway for 8 years.
Because, some political actors in your state have also argued that zoning promotes mediocrity and undermines merit. In this case, does Nasarawa West have...
Let me just drop this point because it's actually very important. Let me just drop this point.
Does Nasarawa West have the capacity and credible candidates to lead the state?
Okay, in 2019, before I talk about this, in 2019, the same Abdullahi Adamu, who is canvassing for zoning, when it was perceived as the turn for Nasarawa North that had never produced the governorship of Nasarawa State from 1999, he stood vehemently against the governor coming from that zone and stood vehemently against the incumbent governor of Nasarawa State, one that we are so proud of today because of his developmental strides and the things that he's doing. Imagine that the governorship didn't come to Nasarawa North. And the same person today comes and tells us that there was... He had never believed in zoning. I am sad to talk like this because he's somebody that we respect so much. In 2023, you can remember, you're a journalist, when he came up with the issue of Ahmed Lawan as consensus candidate for the presidency of this country, when the governors of the APC were insisting that His Excellency the late president haven't spent 8 years, the presidency should go back to the south. This man stood up and said, no, it should remain in the north.
All right.
He was against zoning in very recent, so we shouldn't be talking about zoning in Nasarawa State at this point.
Right, because
yes,
I
we
would
should
have
be talking
also
about
loved
competence, credibility, and the capacity to give leadership.
Because I would have also loved to ask, I mean, looking ahead, which do you think is more important, zoning or performance?
Clearly performance.
All right.
But even if we are going to be talking about zoning, we should assume that there was this quiet zoning and it had been, the first phase of that zoning had been exhausted. The three senatorial districts had produced the governorship. We should be charting a second phase. And so at this point, there should be a level playing ground for everybody to contest, and whoever emerges as the governor, the zoning should pick up from there.
Conversation. Honorable, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I've been speaking with Honorable Makpa Malla, former member, Chief Whip and spokesperson of the Nasarawa State House of Assembly. Thank you very much for speaking with us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And thank you very much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But before we go, let's tell you that the views and reactions of our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with TVC News. Meanwhile, you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at 12:30 a.m. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and X at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News NG. I am Olajumoke Olatuji. I'll see you again tomorrow. Good night.